Hurricane Ian has rocked the states of Florida and South Carolina with record wind and rain. And now it's time for recovery. Federal, state, and local officials work together to make sure citizens can recover as quickly as possible after this horrible disaster. Hello and welcome to Healthy Connections. I'm Annetta Wilson, your host. Healthy Connections is a show dedicated to exploring a wide variety of topics, from prenatal care to Alzheimer's disease. And we do so with a wide variety of perspectives, from the professionals that help treat the syndromes to everyday people like you and me who may have personal experience dealing with these topics on a first-hand basis. Stay tuned for this special edition of Healthy Connections. Our first guest is Chief Laura Lee Avery, Emergency Manager with the Orange County Office of Emergency Management and the Orange County Fire Rescue Department, to tell us about the county's involvement before, during, and after a storm. Chief Avery, thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
We're really pleased you're here because we know you have been busy. So thank you. Let's just start with the basics. What exactly does your office do?
Our primary responsibility is to coordinate with all of the resources in Orange County to make sure that we prepare for, respond to, and recover from the storm.
That sounds like a gigantic undertaking, almost trying to put a puzzle together to make sure all the pieces fit. What do you do before the storm? We hear about all the warnings, but how do you actually mobilize and get everybody in place so that it just goes off with like clockwork?
Well, first of all, we prepare year-round, not just for hurricane season. So it is by preparing for any sort of disaster that might happen here in our county that we are, ready when a storm impacts our area. But prior to a storm being announced, we are working with our National Weather Service and our state to make sure that we have all of the information for weather and preparedness, that not just for us, what we're doing here in the county, but what's happening at the state level and the federal level to prepare.
Now, we of course, we watch our local media to make sure we have the updates. As we're watching and hunkering down, what is your office actually doing during the storm?
We have an emergency operations center here, and what we do is we call in all of our essential support function staff. Then they train all year long for this. But they come into our emergency operations center and they are here in place while the storm is impacting the county. And they're still here today. We're still coordinating and making sure that, our 200 partners, whether it's a power issue or a flooding issue that Public Works is handling, traffic signals, so sheltering. So there's a lot of coordination that happens here at this facility in our emergency operations center to make sure that people are here together, can coordinate quickly, and get the resources out to our community that is needed.
So let's talk about the communities. What can we do to help you do what you do better? What is the best way for people to prepare? Because this is going to happen again at some point.
The best thing that people can do is, monitor the OCFL.net for all of the hurricane preparedness. There's the checklist there. There's different items they need to make sure that they have in their homes or their locations prior to a storm. And unfortunately, too many people wait until a storm is announced. And then you see the mad rush at the Home Depots and the grocery stores for everybody to go out and get what they need. And that's stressful for our citizens. So I just so wish that people would listen. Yeah, we kick off hurricane season every year on June 1st. We have tax holidays that occur in order for our citizens to prepare. So I just really wish that people, and a lot do, but that they would get out and get those items they need, make sure they're prepared so that then when a storm is announced, they already have everything they need so they can focus on their homes and other things instead of rushing out to stores in the long lines trying to get what they need to ride
So
out the storm.
the special people with special needs who may need to be evacuated, how can that group of citizens prepare?
So any of our special needs people, again, we want them to be signed up prior to a storm, and they can do that by calling 311. And they 311 are trained. They can help them register so that they're on our list. When we have a storm that is going to impact Orange County, we do a lot of things. So we actually, our health services actually reaches out to every single person on our list to see, are they staying at home? Do they need evacuation? Do they need any support? And then in addition to that, fire rescue goes out into communities and makes sure that anybody that needs assistance with transport gets transported to a shelter. So there's a lot of, go ahead.
What documentation do people need when they evacuate, or even if you're not evacuating? Because usually in a situation like that, you know, the adrenaline rush is going and people are trying to save themselves and their pets and may forget to take documentation. So what documents do you suggest people have ready to go?
That is part of our hurricane preparation that we always announce prior to the storm, but it is insurance documents. If they own their home, making sure they have that, their social security card, any kind of Florida ID that they have. And the easy way to put all that together in a Ziploc bag and put it in the freezer. And then if they know they have to evacuate quickly, they grab that and go.
Okay, and let's talk about the aftermath, the most dangerous situations that you encounter after the storm.
Absolutely. So unfortunately, we see a lot of deaths after the storm. Fortunately, Orange County has not had any deaths after this storm as of yet. But unfortunately, there's down power lines, there's flooding. We have people driving through floods that have had to been rescued. And then there's some people that were encouraged to evacuate that we had to go and do rescues. As you know, National Guard was here to help us with that as well.
And that puts the first responders in danger too. So people should pay attention to those warnings. This is not, you don't fool with Mother Nature. These storms are ferocious. So we want to thank you for everything that you do. And once again, can you remind us where we can go to get information to prepare, to get registered if you have special needs, and what you need to do before the storm is upon us?
We have the ocfl.net, Ian, right now available that has all the information that we're pushing out to our communities. So that is the best way right now to get any updated alerts or information. But for special needs, the best thing is for them to call 311 and get that help to get registered. It's not too late. They can do that today.
Because hurricane season is coming every year, June 1st to November 30th. And some years we get lucky, and then some years we get a storm like Ian, which is hopefully only once in a lifetime event. But this is Florida, and life on a peninsula can get dicey. Chief Avery, thank you very much for being with us and for the stamina you and your team have had to make sure all of Orange County citizens are safe. We appreciate everything you do.
Thank you.
And we'll be back with more right after this. One of of the biggest questions many people ask after a storm, such as Hurricane Ian, is, what do I do now? Well, our next guest is Jan Tracy, who's a spokesperson for FEMA, or the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and she's going to explain all of that. Thank you for being here, Jan.
Thank you for helping us get this word out.
So what is the first thing that happens after a storm?
The first thing that happens is that the governor makes a request to bring in FEMA. The governor has to invite us. Mm-hmm. And once we get that federal declaration, the president signs that federal declaration, then FEMA can actually bring people into the state and start working on the recovery process. We're literally involved in things all the way from urban rescue, all the way through the recovery process to rebuilding the infrastructure, bridges, so everything. But the one thing that we're most known for and what everybody wants to know about is how we can help individuals.
So what is that process? You know, you've had a loss, catastrophic loss, and you've heard that FEMA is coming in to help. How do you get in line for that help?
Okay, the very first thing people should do, be it a homeowner or a renter, is go directly to their insurance company, their flood insurance or their homeowner's insurance, because FEMA does not duplicate what insurance covers.
Okay.
We step in where insurance stops. So for uninsured people or underinsured people, that's where we can do the most good. So the first thing is file your claim with your insurance company. The second thing is you want to start cleaning up your home if you can do that, if you can get in.
Right.
And you can do that, but you have to take pictures, document everything. Take a picture of the water line on the wall to prove how high the water went. Save receipts for anything you purchase to do cleanup, because you're going to need that to get reimbursed. And then contact FEMA and register for assistance.
And how do you register?
Okay, we have 4 different ways that people can register. There's a FEMA app that you can put on your telephone. There's an 800 number you can call. It's 800-621-FEMA. But I will say they've been inundated with calls, so you're on hold for a long time. Mm-hmm. The easiest way is to go to disasterassistance.gov and register online. But that's not really very satisfying sometimes.
Right.
You fill out all the forms, you send it off, and then you sit there and wait and wonder, did anybody get it? Is anybody looking at it?
So what is the average wait time? I mean, are people thinking, okay, I hit send, now somebody's going to call me back in the next hour?
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen, particularly in a disaster like this. But there is a solution. We have disaster survivor assistance teams who are out in the general public registering people. They're in various different locations in each county. Ultimately, within the next week, what you'll see happening is disaster recovery centers set up in each county. And that'll be a place, a physical location where people can go in, they can register there, and they can continue to use that resource pretty much throughout the disaster. It'll be there. They can go in a week later and say, well, what's the status? Or if they've been told they need more documents, that they're missing something.
So let's talk about that part, because there's nothing more frustrating than showing up somewhere and being told you don't have all the paperwork that you need. So what's the list of the must-haves in terms of information people need to bring?
Good question, because this is often what slows down the process of getting your money is some stupid document. And in a time when people have lived through a flood, as you can imagine, a lot of people have lost those things, or they, who knows where you can find your electric bill or whatever. But you have to have documentation that you own the property.
And what would that be, a mortgage statement?
It could be, but you can also show something as simple as your electric bill, your gas bill, to show that it is your primary residence. Okay. And yes, you'll have to somehow document that you actually own the property, that you're not a renter, because a renter's in a whole different category we'll talk about. You will need to have both addresses, the address of the damaged property and then an address of wherever it is you're staying.
Okay.
You'll need a good phone number where you're staying. You need a social security number. Okay. And and your insurance documents. You need your insurance policy.
Okay, that is for property owners. Let's talk about renters.
Yes.
How is it different for them?
Yes, because you have a lot of renters down here.
Yes.
A lot of them. Renters, they will not be able to file for assistance for the building itself. That belongs to the landlord, and that is a business for the landlord. So they don't file for assistance through FEMA. They file through the Small Business Administration, whole different system for the owner of the property. But renters can file with FEMA because they can qualify, for example, maybe their automobile, personal property basically, their automobile, their furniture, food in the refrigerator that was damaged, medical
Anything
equipment.
other than the physical building,
And
pretty
yes,
much.
yes, not anything that belongs to the landlord, like the refrigerator, the stove, that would all be on the landlord's application. But for personal property, the renter can file, yes.
So that website is disasterassistance.gov, not .com, .gov.
Right.
And that registration process is probably the least amount of hassle right now in terms of getting getting people into the system.
It's probably the fastest way.
Okay.
Unless you have a disaster survivor assistance team in your area, and that is an invaluable resource. That would be my first place to start, would be to walk in and talk to somebody one-on-one.
And that's so much more comforting, when you've gone through something catastrophic. Jan, we could talk for half an hour. Unfortunately, we can't. But I think we've given people enough information to at least get the ball rolling. And thank you for coming in and being here with your team.
Thank you, and we'll have updates periodically.
All right.
Thank you.
We will be back right after this. The whole point of this program is to keep you healthy and connected to the people you care about and your community. And as we've heard today, things can happen so quickly. Part of that connection is being prepared and listening when help is there. We'll be here to provide you that information so you can continue to make healthy connections. I'm Annetta Wilson. Thanks for joining us.